Hey, it's Enrico Pallazzo.
Utah, give me 2.
Pallazzo.
Utah, give me 2.
What is happening? What is happening? What is happening? Welcome to the Pallazzo Power Hour, the Prospect Power Hour. I've got the geniuses with me. I have got Ben over here to my right, and I've got down below, I've got Robbie. Say hi to the kids.
Cheers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Is that it? Come on, guys.
Yeah, because you want us to go quick, okay? Like,
oh, okay.
Off air, you're berating us. Now we're on air, you're nice to us. It's ridiculous, Sam. You're like a goddamn walleye flip-flopping.
Treated like a total victim.
dude.
Yeah, seriously, get over yourself. So great. So we do have a lot to get through today. There's a bunch of stuff, but if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Hit it. Register to subscribe to the show. If you listen to us on podcasts, give us a 5-star review.
We are Discord. Get in that Discord.
Do all the things. We are here for you. We are here to talk baseball, even sometimes talk a little bit of life. So can't wait to have you guys come aboard. And if you don't want to leave us a 5-star review, you don't have to mark down the review. What you can do is you can send us a DM on socials and say, you know what your problem is, Pallazzo? We listen to good feedback also. We are here for the people. It's true. It's true.
I love it. Spoken like a business owner who's had a bad review. I get it, Sam. I totally get it. The guy could have just told you, right? I'm looking for puppy chow and you don't have it. And you're like, look, man, that's not what we do here.
That's right. Unfortunately, that's probably
I had it with my restaurant. I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Welcome to an every day at a newspaper. So anyway,
there you go.
So we are here to talk to you guys about 3 wonderful teams and their prospects: Cleveland, Tampa Bay, and Houston. But before that, we want to get into some news and notes and just talk a little bit about some of the things that have happened. So,
I'm gonna Iran. What's up, guys?
Iran, Iraq, America. Oh wait, no.
I just
ran.
We're
not going to cover that. Okay,
I couldn't get it.
Children joke.
Oh, you're not talking about the flock of seagulls I ran so far away.
No, I am.
Holy cow! It's Uncle Ted. Uncle Ted, we missed you for the last week or two.
Yeah,
good to see you back.
Yeah, there he is. Evening, ladies. That's what I like to say. I could be one of the girls tonight. Who knows? I think the beard kind of ruined it for me, but whatever. You guys want to go over news and notes? I don't have anything fun to talk about unless we're talking about Kate Anderson or Ryan Sloan. So,
yeah. So let me dive in with my bit first, Ben, and then you can close us off. Yeah. And so my fun notes are Connor Griffin. I watched the game Pirates against Red Sox spring training. It was so fun to watch it. Connor Griffin, 2 home runs, looks good, as does the password. Garcia, but Nick Gonzalez, 7 for 13 in the spring before today's game. So give me a breather. I didn't see today's 1 walk, 5 Ks, and a stolen base to boot. He's my main dynasty guy this spring because I was able to pick him up cheap because people think he's going to be kind of shoved out of the way because you got Lowe at second. Triolo, is that the correct pronunciation? Triolo as the utility third base type guy. There's talk that Gonzalez will move over to third, but we don't know for sure. So this is an interesting spring for him, which he's a hitter, a normal average hitter, empty average, whatever you want to say, guy. So this is a fun spring for him. But not all the Pittsburgh news is good news. Bubba Chandler, 3 innings pitched, 7 walks. And 6 earned runs as a result. Hunter Barco also 5 walks and 4 1/3. So that's not great. Moving over to something important, Rockies news. Charlie Condon, 3 ding-a-dongas. And Colorado does need an actual legitimate first base. They've got the potential of the platoon going on with Krim and Johnston, I think is it. So Johnson could pop back out to left field and then solidify first base with Condon. And then Willie Castro, 7 for 11. Now, if you remember, last year was not a good year for Willie Castro, but all the other years he's been the super utility guy that everybody loves in all your dynasty leagues and your redrafts because he's available at all positions. That's what Colorado must want to do with him. So they want to have guys play their normal positions, and then he moves in and around. And the fact
Absolutely.
that he is hitting really well bodes well for them to be able to do that if they just stick him at, say, third, as they've discussed, moving Karros back off the roster. That would not be ideal.
I think Castro's going to find 500 at bats easy on that roster.
Yeah, for sure. A wily vet,
and especially if he's
they
halfway
need that.
decent. Yeah,
And he's, he reminds me, not to bring it home to the Mariners. You can start the Mariners count for me, I guess, since we count the Braves.
Strike one.
Yeah.
Strike one.
But Dylan Moore was that player for years that we had that would get 400 to 500 at bats, played a bunch of different positions, was a real spark plug, like always brought it every day. And I feel like Willie Castro
loved him.
What was not to love, until it flamed out last year, and seeing Willie Castro hit well. I want to see how well he hits throughout spring,
before they get to Coors, right? That's why I'm excited about the start. It's not a Coors start, it's a spring training start.
Well, I want to see how he responds to elevation, right? Like there are
I think he'll be higher.
Thank
you.
Okay.
All right. So next news and notes.
I was just to say, just a quick thing with Willie though. Out of his last year issues were just after he got traded.
Yeah.
Because before he was traded, he was basically doing what he's been doing. He's a 104 OPS plus with the Twins. He's been
just
a
dropped off
102
with the Cubs.
at a 105, and then just 42 OPS plus in his time with the Cubs. And that takes what his season looked like. But he was basically doing what he's been doing. So
no, and he'll have a little chip on his shoulder. And if he can play well at elevation, if he can play well in Coors, then I think it's one of the few smart things that I'm like, wow, that was good for you, Rockies. It's going to be great. And he's not one of those guys that's going to get in the way of their prospects that are coming up. We're still hearing Condon's name.
Yeah, and he could also provide a return when needed at trade deadline if they choose to do that, or he's the re-sign him in the summer guy because they love his ability to make the rest of their team, or their team in general, more competitive because he can move around. Mick Abel's going to be doing a lot of moving around with batters, walking them back to the dugout because he's got 11 Ks through 6 innings pitched and no earned runs in the spring. Now, everyone's saying he's like the 7th guy on the depth chart with the Twins. However, this might make it easier to make a trade if you're the Twins. If you're like, we could probably just run him out there for 30 starts this year and see what happens. If not, he could go back into AAA and hopefully continue to dominate. I've got a lot of Abel in Dynasty, and I would like some redraft capability to focus in by the end of this season. I'm sure it will, but the sooner the better for me. My last bit here is listening to the Red Sox, as I mentioned on Sunday, the Nesson. The boys were talking about Marcelo Meyer possibly being in a split if Alex Cora gets his way as far as roster construction. He loves the D, wants him to find at bats because of all the injuries he's had. He's, out allegedly 800 minor league at bats that he hasn't been able to get. So they would like to be able to see his bat catch up, which obviously to the D, it's not necessarily, you're not going to get that playing with guys, but they want to see what he can do. And Durbin potentially being the platoon partner, which what do you do at third then? But that's what they were discussing, almost as if they had other options.
Wait, Durbin was brought in to be a platoon.
Well, they were discussing the fact that he's played second in spring, and they've been leading it on like this could be a thing. So, which I'm that's why I'm bringing it up, because it doesn't really make sense.
The big thing here is Meyer, when you have defensive ability up the middle, it's a lot like having defensive ability as a catcher. You're going to make the major leagues as a catcher because you can catch, and they're going to train your bat. And same thing, if you have a capable bat, but it just hasn't shown yet, you're going to make the majors with that glove as a middle infielder if you've got that level of glove, and they'll take their lumps with the bat as you learn. Big reason why Christian Campbell flamed out last year is because he wasn't doing it with either. The bat wasn't doing it, and he's never been a great defender. One thing with Abel I want to mention, CJ Nitkowski is one of the Braves, one of their analysts.
Strike one. Continue. Strike one with the Braves. Yep.
But one of Abel's big games was against the Braves, and Nitkowski made the comment. He said, this is a guy that when I'd seen him before, he was always 98. And right now he's 95, 96, but that thing is moving all over the place. And so I took intention to watch the next time that Abel pitched, and it was the same thing. It was more 95, 96 with a hell of a lot of wicked movement on it. If that's what he's getting, that could be a recipe for success for him. The other thing is he was dotting the catcher's glove. If you're taking off a mile an hour and you're getting extra movement and can control the dang thing, sign me up for that all day long. I've been a Mick Abel
pitching versus
fan
throwing
for a long
Excellent.
time. Yeah. So
cool. All right. Go ahead.
One of
ruin my day.
Injury that I'm mentioning here is Thomas White. A lot of folks were real big on Thomas White this year, even though the Marlins have about 6-7 guys ahead of him. Oh, no.
Why you're setting yourself up for that?
I live in a household of like preteen kids. It's a thing in my house. So anyway,
I feel like you set me up for one there, and I'm not taking it.
There you go.
All right, I'm not.
But more than likely, he was gonna be in AAA anyway. But one of the things that this does open up is with the trades that they've made, with some injuries that they have, the Marlins may not have lefties other than White and Robbie Snelling. And I wonder if this may open the door, if he can produce while White is rehabbing and all that, for Snelling to potentially get a longer look because he throws with the left hand. But
Braxton Garrett's the lone guy at the moment with Alcantara, Perez, Paddock, and Max Meyer as the other likelies.
Something to the effect of Garrett has worried some folks about how he's throwing so far.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Shocking.
Yeah. Can you believe that? Braxton Garrett with an injury? No. Or not throwing healthy. The WBC is just about to kick off. A lot of guys left to join their WBC roster today. And that is going to make spring training very interesting because I can tell you that the ESPN coverage that was today, and I'm not going to mention which teams, but the ESPN coverage that was today, they were talking all about the guys who are walking in as Framber Valdez is getting on a plane to take off for the Dominican as soon as he gets done pitching and all this sort of stuff, that they have this guy from the minor leagues that's going to come up and this guy that are going to get some time in camp. Could be an interesting time to see some of that stuff. So anyway, that's all I got. We can just really kick right into, do we want to go right into Tampa Bay? Because I know
we do.
Robbie loves that system.
Yeah, the Tampa Bay Rays, they are an organization that we all in the industry talk about how smart they are and how great their prospects are. From a fantasy aspect, I'm always a little off on Tampa Bay prospects because I never know when they come up, are they going to be straight into a platoon? Are they literally just holding them because they know they're going to trade them off? But we have seen some real victories in spite of the health in their pitching. They've graduated a ton of really valuable starting pitchers into the major leagues. Caminero cannot be ignored. They had another batter that was, problematic, but he was a generational eye, and
he was a wonder, that's for sure.
Yeah. But Franco talking, we're talking about the prospects that they have now, and so I'm interested for you guys to kind of change my perspective.
So, Chad, I mean, get ready to be amazed. Get ready to be amazed tonight.
So let's hit me with the knowledge. Teach me about Tampa Bay systems, Robbie. Let's start with you.
Sure. So we're going big three. Last year, my big three: Xavier Isaac, Carson Williams, and Chandler Simpson. Okay, sure, fair enough. This year, my big three, I've got Theo Gillen, who I think was first round pick 2 years ago. Is that right? For some reason, I deleted their position, age, level, and acquired vias for these three guys. So good for me. Next guy up is Brody Hopkins, who I've got. So actually here, I do have my report here for Gillen. So that's good. So for Theo Gillen, elite OBP skills, 19% walk rate last year with 36 stolen bases, advanced hit tool, strong plate discipline, power, developing, but still projectable to say he is going to be a pretty solid player, but injury history, shoulder, knee, head, long-term risk. Is he going to be a constantly injured guy, or is this blip like people like to say when guys get hurt, but then constantly get hurt? I'm looking at the Guardians, one of their top prospects who we'll be talking about shortly, I'm sure. Next guy up, Brody Hopkins, mid-90s fastball with ride, misses bats, good slider, 141 Ks last year and 116 innings pitched, sub-3 ERA in Double-A. He's 6'4", delightful. Good arsenal. Yeah, good baseball player. And then I am repeating Carson Williams, who's now a 22-year-old shortstop, 20-plus home run power, so 20-20 capability, potential Gold Glove D. Yeah, good 60-70 arm. It's my combined reports here. Average was not ideal when he got up to the big leagues, but again, do they hurt him with platooning, or do they just leave him alone to do what he's got to do and he can make it or he can't? I'm not a big fan of how Tampa Bay typically goes through it. I know they do get a lot of credit for a lot of things they do. I've found in my own experiences with these guys, when they trade for somebody, they're trading for someone they know has something that they weren't able to get initially from, whoever it was that they drafted in place of them or whatever. They go and get their guy, or they make a play for the guy that they know they can do this minor adjustment with and kind of let them loose. So I haven't got to discuss any of those guys yet, but I have many more names within Tampa Bay to get to where we'll start to see those guys, including, sadly, more than one catcher.
Well, they got a lot of fun things to talk about.
And there's definitely opportunity at the catcher position for Tampa.
For sure.
They have nobody you really want in the majors.
Yeah, Mike Zunino's gone now.
Yeah, there you go.
Say what?
Oh, sorry, that's a former Mariner. That's probably more
no more
sensitive
Danny
to Sam.
Jansen either. So
yes.
You just take away all the fun.
Yeah.
So last year, my big three were the exact same three. I do want to mention, because I don't have him anywhere else, and you might, but Xavier Isaac ended his season last year due to a brain tumor.
Yeah.
That's kind of a big deal. I was really pleased to watch him earlier this week, and he's tracking the ball well. I didn't see him get an A swing off on anything in 2 or maybe even 3 at bats. But I think he ended up in that every at bat, it was 5 or 6 pitches. He was tracking the ball well. When he did swing at something, it was something that was in the zone that he could work with. He just didn't get his A swing on it. He's got a road back. This is, these are people too. That's the thing, is a lot of times we get into prospecting and we're like, oh, he didn't quite make it, and so therefore he's a bum and yada, yada, yada. No, this is somebody who's literally going through cancer treatment and is healthy now and able to be on the field. I'll take that all friggin' day long. So that was my big three last year. This year, Hopkins, I mentioned he's more athlete than he is pitcher. Godly stuff, but to call it reliever control would be generous.
There's a reason I didn't mention the walks.
Yeah, he is
just trying to build him up.
It's the stuff. It's like every single pitch he throws is like, holy shit! It sets off all the Stuff Plus models to the moon. But he's not putting it in the zone consistently, and he's certainly not hitting his catcher's mitt consistently. Carson Williams, I have down here, elite defender, future Gold Glover, going to strike out 30% of the time while he does it. But this is the type of guy that fantasy-wise is going to be valuable for you. In the realm of like a Mike Cameron, who was so good defensively that he was on the field in years when he hit 220 and then gave you 20 homers and 20 steals, that's what I think Williams is going to do for you as well. He may have some years where it's low 200s for a batting average, but he's going to give you power and steals, which is always nice in fantasy. And then the last one I have on here is Jacob Melton, trade acquisition this year.
Former Astro.
and why the Astro system is going to be really tough to talk about. But he has a really strong fantasy profile. And actually, I said, I have down here, it's like they traded away Josh Lowe and then acquired Josh Lowe. Because that's the profile. I mean, if you really wanted to find a major leaguer that matches his profile, it's Josh Lowe, and they traded him away this winter and then went and got Melton in another deal. So they just got a cheaper version of it. That sounds like Tampa.
Anybody here want to guess how many drafted Tampa Bay drafted players are projected to be in the rotation, the bench, or the starting lineup? So I'm not counting RPs.
And
how many drafted guys? Because everyone says they draft well. So how many guys?
Well, they also trade. They trade.
This, to my point of the trade, how many do you think are home drafted?
5 out of that 26, 27, whatever that number is.
That sounds like a good spot to be.
So yeah, they've got, where are we here? 4. So McClanahan, Chandler, Simpson, Taylor Walls, and Caminero. Oh, and I guess
well, that's an international free agent though, even. So
pardon me?
That's even an international free agent.
That's a trade. Yeah, sorry, that is a trade. Yeah. So with Jonathan Aranda, he's the only other one. So you got 4 realistically, not counting bullpen. And if you get into bullpen, you've got 0.
There isn't any in the bullpen. I was going to say there aren't any in the bullpen.
But again, this is for an organization that people are like, oh, they draft so well. They don't. They trade really well. And even looking at the projected lineup, which is essentially who are the scrubs blocking the guys we want to see, right? Who are the guys we're talking about tonight? We'll get through the names. Who are the guys blocking them? Like, this is a scrap heap of a team with some legitimate players within it, right? Gavin Lux is coming kind of off the, I don't know if you want to call it scrap heap, but whatever. He's coming, trying to establish himself.
Projected as their leadoff hitter. What the hell?
Yes, potentially. And then they got the 2 kind of homegrown Caminero, Arana, but then Cedric Mullins, Jake Fraley, and then we'd mentioned, the catcher situation's wide open, and they're benched with Ben Williamson and Justin Henry Malloy, who I know we're sensitive about him around here.
Podcast favorite.
Yep. However, this is not the lineup that you're like, oh yeah, they're going to be able to make a click. But this is the Moneyball kind of BS that could still end up with 70 plus, wins and be disruptive in the AL East.
It really feels like it's a lineup that's filled with 4A players.
100%.
It's so, and they have
outside of
pieces.
Outside of Caminero and Mullins, when a right-hander is pitching, yes, absolutely. Because I think Mullins when he's facing a lefty is not pretty. But Yandy sometimes. Yandy for some reason has kind of been streaky. Which is weird for a guy who the stats that he ends up with, you would think is a consistent on base type of whatever, but he goes on streaks where he just gets, 6 hits in a matter of 3 games, and then he doesn't hit for 4. It's just kind of weird.
But I would still take Yandy. Like Yandy, I don't. A 4A player. He's not. He's
a major leaguer on the roster amongst.
But he's
several who are not
a.
Yeah, or we just don't know.
How many clubs is he starting at first base DH though? That's what I'm saying. Like, if you really break it down, he's probably one of those guys that's more of a platoon role first base DH on most clubs, just because of the lack of power, consistent power.
I'd say 15, maybe. 10 to 15 teams would have him as an everyday first baseman or DH. Like, the average is great. He puts the ball.
That's what I'm saying. Like, when Mullins is facing a right-hander, that's an absolute, I think he starts for 25 teams in the league.
Well, I think Ben Williamson is Yandy Diaz is exactly who they're hoping they can make out of Ben Williamson. Yeah, that they can be like, we 100%. We want that mold, the patient at the plate. You don't need to hit it over the fence, but we really do want you to hit it.
Which is,
and that's what he did up until he was with the Mariners last year, and then we saw the switch, and then Jerry makes the move, right? Makes the trade, moves in the player he wants, willing to give up on a guy he doesn't think is a lock at the moment, knowing that he can always be a good player later on. And maybe it'll work in Tampa. So anyway, and I just wanted to mention those guys. I didn't mean to bring up Mariners talk, Sam. I'm very sorry.
Well, no, but I think that it's interesting you bring them up because we usually get on Tampa Bay about their defense, and Williamson plays Gold Glove defense at third base. Like this is, I thought it was a really interesting pickup for them, given their history of not necessarily. It doesn't seem like they care as much about defense. So I don't know if this is.
They still run out guys like Taylor Walls for 140 games.
Yeah,
when he's quite literally made Nick Allen look like a fucking all-star hitter last year.
I'm just saying it's a different angle for that organization to take.
It is.
So next three, Robbie. Who are your next three?
Sure. Let me timestamp, right? Got to keep the boss happy. Next three last year. If we go back in time. I had Gary Gilhill, who was hyped up and projected to have everything coming together. And that will end the discussion on him for 2026. Aiden Smith, an outfielder who was a 23 fourth rounder, part of the Randy Arizarena trade. And that will end the discussion on him for the night. And I had, we got a second Mariner mention from Sam now. Well,
I got a question for you guys.
8 inches.
I'm finally up in perfect length. I give it to you 3 times and punch you really hard in the back of the head.
You got her, baby.
It's my pick. I'm in pick 10, first round, and I have 2 names that I'd like to ask you guys about. I know this is a prospect power hour, but it's
baseball, baby.
Yeah. So I can pick either Julio Rodriguez or Garrett Crochet. You guys know which way I'm leaning about this.
Do you have 5 outfielders?
Yes. It's a 5 outfielder.
It is a 5 outfielder.
I feel like getting Julio allows you to make more fun choices later. But picking Crochet banks a lot on his health and makes you take less ceiling outfielders later. So
Julio Rodriguez it is.
Yeah, I would prefer the Julio.
I would say if I would have had that choice because I did it at 10, Rodriguez went at 10 in mine and I was at 12. And that Rodriguez was the last guy that I was considering above Garrett Crochet once the way that things fell, because my draft, anyway, I mentioned this to Sam. A whole bunch of guys were about the same to me, is really what they look like. So, okay, your last next one, Robbie.
Dylan Lesko, starting pitcher, came over in San Diego. He was 15th overall in 2022. And that will be the end of his mentions for the night. So it
was a rough next 3.
Yeah,
for me
it was.
Too.
There was a lot of I'm going for upside here, and it doesn't always work out. So first, I'll start off with the depressing news on next 3. I've got a catcher. It's I'm going to say Cade Bodine. Is that the correct pronunciation? Bodine, 22-year-old. He was. So first off here, I'll just read it verbatim because it sounds better. Grossett's a catcher, I know, but hear me out. He can hit, switch hitting catcher. Baz trade put him in Tampa from Baltimore. He was a first-round pick, contact hitter, elite plate discipline, low K, strong OBP, minimal power, but no speed. He can also play catcher, although he's not elite at it. Average at best, projects as a reliable catcher, and everything that comes through this just screams to me the Blue Jay version of Jansen.
Oh, yeah. I can see that.
Not the free agent version and the post-injury guy. The one that everyone's like, yeah, he's good, but more. And I feel like that's kind of where this looks like it's sitting for Bodine. So next guy up for me is Anderson Brito. He is a 21-year-old RHP. That stands for right-handed pitcher. So here's my grades, and this is fun and exciting for everybody. 55 fastball, 50 slider, 45 change. I gave 50 curve. A lot of other reports did not, but I think the arm developing is a good thing for him. I think he's the type of guy who those things could sharpen up a little bit. He doesn't have enough of a track record yet, and he's got some inconsistencies in his past, but back end starter with the ability to possibly become a mid-end type guy if he can continue to sharpen those secondaries. Good evening, Mike. We just mentioned a former Oriole. Yeah. And my final guy is Santiago Suarez, 21-year-old, who's up in AAA by comparison to Brito, who is in single A or high A. He showed growth last year and did the run of A to AAA before the injury, and he had and has advanced feel, low walk rate, and controller is real strengths. Because of the season, he just kept getting moved up, but he did have a shoulder setback. I think it was earlier in the year, so he must have come back from that and done quite well for himself. So Santiago Suarez, Anderson Brito, and Cade Bodine.
I love you saying Santiago Suarez. I got him in Dynasty 3 years ago when he was a name, and it's been hard to roster him. I had him in a 30-team league that I was in, so we got to hold on to very deep picks. I ended up trading him last year, and it's sad that I traded him, but happy for him that I think he low-key could do some things at the end of the season for Tampa Bay for sure. And being a starter is not out of, the cards for him. So,
yep, for sure.
So Ben, your next three. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just to say, so last year, my next three, Braden Taylor, Aiden Smith, and Trevor Harrison, and now we'll move away from those guys as quickly as we can. Like I said, it was a rough year.
Well with Tampa.
Yeah, really makes me proud of my prospecting skills.
Yeah, well done.
All right, so my next three, Theo Gillen, I have on there. One of the things I noted is he transitioned to the outfield very well last year, and I'm curious how much the shoulder and wrist stuff from 24 plus the position change affected his offensive production, and how much we could maybe see this year bump up with that, because he's beyond that injury a full year, and plus he's now got a year of experience in the outfield. Anderson Brito, this is a Mike Govier favorite. Got to see him out at the AFL, and I fell in love with him. He is a small guy. He's listed, I think, at 6 foot. There's no way he is 6 foot tall. No way. But the stuff is just nuts. And the reports that you got in Fall League were that both fastballs, his curve, and his change all flash plus. And then he also uses a cutter and a sweeper. And so he showed all 6 pitches out there. Missed a lot of last year with injury, but a lot of guys this size end up in the bullpen because it's just wear and tear on the body. Trying to keep that type of velocity up just wears down a body. It wears down any size body, but for some reason with smaller guys, it's just more. But then I said he has the upside of a 2-3 starter, but his size may push him to the bullpen. So really high-end, fun stuff. The last guy I have on mine is Daniel Pierce, who was their first-round pick this last year.
Yep.
Stud athlete, really standout defender. I think I can argue on this with somebody, but I think the only high school shortstop I would take over him defensively would be Billy Carson, and Billy was like a generational defensive high school pick defender that was picked last year. I put down his very similar profile to Carson Williams in that power, speed, and you're not 100% sure how much the contact skills are going to develop. But the defense is going to likely keep him moving forward, which unfortunately I think is kind of what ended up happening with Carson. Is he never needed to slow down and really learn how to recognize pitches because he was so good defensively. They wanted to keep advancing him, and that's a good and bad thing both. He's got the power and speed. He's putting those on the stat sheet, but it might be a thing where 3 years down the road, we see Carson Williams hitting 280 and only striking out 28% of the time because he's gotten more experience. That's kind of, I wonder how much Daniel Pierce might keep moving in a similar way.
Yeah. And see what Tampa actually does with him. The complex, let him do his thing, or do they put him at low A to start the year? We'll see. I don't think they will.
So Wedge guys here. I have name to know TJ Nichols, right-handed pitcher. I put down that he has the ideal frame. He's like 6'3", 220, kind of your perfect ideal. This is what you want a guy to be, plus fastball, slider guy, really good control, but that's all he's got is a fastball and slider. So as far as what he's since the draft, he worked to iron out his control, and that is really good now with those two pitches. But now he needs to work to build up another pitch or even two more pitches in order to still be a starter. My draftee to mention, I'm going to mention a catcher because I want to do it before you do. Tatum Gray, big Iowa kid.
Yeah.
6'4", 220, coming out of high school, big corn-fed Iowa boy. Huge raw power. They were talking that these are like Blaze Jordan type of tanks that he was hitting during summer ball stuff. But also a really good athlete that gave up, was he basketball or football? But he was a varsity starter and gave that up to focus on baseball his senior year. I'd say he's going to stay in the low minors all year. I mean, he would anyway with the Rays, but I think they're going to probably think about him as an outfielder, because this is a guy who is a legit. I mean, he's got speed. He was something like the 90th percentile in the 60 at one of the summer things where they tested everyone on that. And so he was way up there. And like I said, a 6'4", 220 guy that can move like that, staying at catcher seems like a waste of that talent. And so they might move him out into the outfield, especially now since they, acquired Bodine. They've got other catchers in the system. They drafted, I think, 2 other ones outside of him. So it would not surprise me at all if he ends up moving to the outfield.
Well, I want to jump in real quick. I love that call of Tatum Gray because another friend of mine in the industry, Chris Knock, who's one of the senior writers over at the Dynasty Guru, has been in on him all draft season. He's in love with him. He picks him up in every draft that he can get him. I had to draft early to get him because I knew of his love in a league that we had a draft together. And so I'm excited to see what that kid can do. He is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So again, not
Should
that
be
typical,
fun.
Yeah, I'm excited about him. So sorry for interjecting. Your go, Rob.
So I went a little deeper on account of Tampa Bay is good at trading, not drafting with my wedge guys. So they acquired Michael Forrest from Baltimore in the Boss trade, and 6'3" righty, varied pitch mix.
Which
good.
My quick thing to say on him: nobody gave a flying leap who the hell he was until Tampa acquired him from Shane Baz. And now all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, here's my sleeper this year. And he's on everybody's freaking sleeper list. And I'm like, really? Because if he wouldn't have been traded, no way in hell were you putting him on your sleeper list if he is a Baltimore Oriole.
Yep. And now, he high AA, limited innings. The ceiling is mid-rotation starter. Rays have lots to work with to finish him off. So I think he's a good one. He was a 14th rounder in 2023, which is the reason why nobody gave a shit until he was traded. So Victor Mesa Jr., who also I have liked since his brother Victor came over, and everyone had said at the time that it was essentially Miami paying for Victor to get Victor Mesa Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And Victor Mesa Jr. got a little tea sandwich last year. Not up there long enough to have a cup of coffee with Miami, and then sent back down. But he is a solid, smart hitter, decent OBP in the minors, and I kind of feel like his 15-15 potential, improved OBP, could be leaning towards him being able to be a major league platoon type player. And then with it being Tampa, who really knows now? With Miami, they had like 7 outfielders that they kept just like rotating guys through. And the one that you wanted to get time was not getting time. And then, somebody got hurt and this and that happened and it just didn't come together for him. He's going to be in a similar situation in Tampa Bay with opportunity this year, but he's going to need to be hitting in Durham to get that call. I don't think this is a reasonable start the year with the big league club, but I do like him as somebody who's kind of that quad A type guy. And then I do have Jacob Melton, who obviously Ben feels stronger about. I just feel like with the age, and although Tampa Bay's got thin depth, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do what they, but I would hope they can max him out. I just don't know if they're going to, because of the other major league no option type guys that they have filled the roster with. So that's my concern with Melton. I did have a J2 signee to mention because we just haven't done it yet. Fabio Blanco signed for $3.5 million with Tampa, and they are one of the teams who have had a couple of the highly sought after dynasty international signings. Although Franco was the guy they signed, and as we talked about before, Caminero was I think it was Cleveland, right? And then he came through that way. Either way, they've got them young. So Victor Valdez is going to get hype if you're into acquiring guys who other people will like, so you can trade for closer to players. That's a thing that smart dynasty guys do when you can make a lot of picks. Victor Valdez is the one, and Fabio Blanco signed for $1 million. That's what it is. Sorry, they did have 2 guys. Victor Valdez was the big name guy, but Fabio Blanco, I think, is the one who could be the one that turns into the beautifulness for you. Anyway, draft sleepers from last year. This is where I will get to my catcher. The first off, they drafted a 24-year-old right-handed pitcher, Trendon Parrish, in the 10th round. He was a 10th round pick, and what do you guys think he signed for? I don't want to make the show go longer. It was $500. That's what he signed for, $500. So I think they also threw him into A-ball after he signed. I'm just curious to see what they do with him. I looked. There's nothing about Trendon Parrish that you're going to be like, well, maybe he's asleep. No, I don't think he is. I think he was a cheap pick. Then they're like, organizational depth. Here you go. We're going to give you a year or two of pro ball and possibly let you loose. But to take a 10th round pick and to give him $500, I don't understand it. But that's what they did, and I think that was more
the fact that he signed is a whole. Like,
yes, exactly. So what did they know? Who was he hung out with? Is he a friend of Wander? So anyway, then the next guy up. Thank you. That was just said for Sam's reaction. The actual draft sleeper here, 17th round pick, Brody Dune. This is a catcher, 22-year-old. So from out of Florida. He was allegedly a top 250 prospect who slipped back, 6'5", 230, right-handed hitter, raw power, high strikeout rates, which, we understand how that's going to work out with, because he's a catcher with defensive questions, but he's got a great arm. So I don't know. Is this a coach him up guy? I don't know. Tampa Bay doesn't do that. They don't draft and develop elite catchers, but this is somebody who might be interested. You might be interested in just putting on the watch list and then see what he does and see where he's sitting midseason. When we wrap through all the teams and say guys that are doing something, I'll be referencing this and then going and checking the stat line. So if you never hear the name again, enjoy it while you have it.
Yeah.
So
I'm surprised you didn't use the guy Joe mentioned last week, Nathan Flueling.
Yes,
that was the name is amazing.
Yeah, watch list guy. I guess if we were to do a watch list episode, which maybe that's what, instead of Wedge or whatever, if there was another way to go about it. But there's only so much I can take with catchers, And I wanted these guys because I think Bodine is the Jansen version, as I mentioned, and I think Dune, it just looks like he could be almost like a Gary Sanchez. If he pops, it could come together and he could just be like serious power. And everyone's like, my God, why is he a catcher? Like DH him. And then he kicks around for 8 years. So anyway, okay, let's talk about anybody else.
All right. Does that mean you guys are ready to move on to the next team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, The next team is going to be Cleveland. Is that who we're going next?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's finish with
All
Houston.
Right. Cleveland is considered to be a pitching lab. A lot of people like their ability to develop pitching. They always seem to have a couple new young names every season. They're very similar, I think, to the Braves in that aspect, that they're not afraid to develop pitching and give people opportunities. So I'm real interested to see how many pitchers you guys have, because on the flip side, they do not seem to do well with offense. They've got J-Ram and they've got Quan, and Manzardo looks like he's going to be able to hit. Chase DeLauder looks like he might be fun, but there's not a lot of names on that lineup card that scare you every day. They're streaky, they're fun, but talk to me, guys. Let's start with you, Ben. Who are your big three for Cleveland?
So last year, it's funny that you mentioned this, because last year 5 of my 6 guys were hitters. And last year my big three were all hitters: Chase DeLauder, Travis Bazzana, and Jason Churio. And Jason no long churing his way onto this list.
Nailed it.
Wow.
There we go. But I do return Bazzano and DeLauder. Bazzana, offensive first, second baseman. A lot of people like to mention him as like this big bat guy that's going to be this generation's Jeff Kent. I think that's nuts. I think if he's really lucky for fantasy stats, he's Dustin Pedroia, but I don't think he's going to be Dustin Pedroia as far as his overall hitting ability, like his doubles and things like that. This is a guy who cranks out for power, but he still gets good contact for average. I worry a little bit watching the swing. The defense is already an issue, though. And this could be, how many second basemen have we had come up lately that are just great hitters, and now we got to move them because they were already starting at second base. And where do you go from there if you got to move down the defensive spectrum? It's basically first base or DH. And unfortunately, Bazzana doesn't have a whole lot he's got to really improve the glove in order to make that work anywhere but first base, DH. Chase DeLauder, injuries. This guy would be likely in the majors right now if it weren't for that. And when he has been healthy, he showed amazing stuff: power, speed, defense. We just got to be healthy. And my last guy is my first catcher mention, but it's because he's not a catcher anymore. And that's Ralphie Velazquez, who I think this is the future first base guy here. I don't know that he is going to hit for a high average, but he's going to be a guy that gets on base a ton and hits for a ton of power, which is, they don't have guys like that in their lineup right now. They kind of need that. So he's a good enough athlete that he could play in the outfield and definitely has the arm. He was a high school catcher basically because of his arm. So he's a good enough athlete that could potentially move him into the corner outfield, but I would bet they would prefer to see him stick at first because they just don't have a long-term answer there right now. Of course, not that they really do in either corner outfield spot right now either, but I think that they would love to see him stick at first.
Carlos Santana isn't going to play another 10 years. Are you sure about that?
Well, Reese Hoskins may kick around for another 5, right? We'll see how this year goes.
Yeah, seriously. So you don't sound like you're super excited about the big three for Cleveland.
If this is real, Britton, I'm in. So
the catcher pod,
I'm in. I'll do it.
So are you talking to me on that, Sam?
Yeah, it just sounded like you're not as excited about him. There was you're like, yeah, he's great, but
yeah.
Well, and in all seriousness, I think that is Cleveland. If you look at Cleveland, their major league roster, that's a 75-win team. But they come out and they win freaking 90 games every year.
I was gonna say they made the playoffs last year.
That's the issue. They part of it is Jose Ramirez is a freaking stud, and he pulls. Rising tide carries all ships, sort of thing sometimes. But they just know how to use guys once they get to the major leagues, which is good and bad for us as fantasy owners, because that a lot of times means that somebody gets platooned more than we would like. That means that if somebody shows something with a glove, they're probably going to play more than we would like them to play over somebody who might have more fantasy friendly stats. Thinking our friend Mr. Was it Gilbert Arias? That doesn't seem right. Gabriel Arias.
Gabriel, yeah. Who had a hell of a defensive play today in some spring training games.
Yeah. Ooh, great defender. That's the thing. He's an excellent defender. But that's all he is he's a defender. He is not a hitter. And I had somebody ask me earlier this offseason, so Gabriel Arias is he what he is, or is there more in the tank there? And I said, for fantasy, he is what he is.
Oh, absolutely.
He might be able to play more around the infield some, but he's not going to give you any more with the bat. Yeah. And I think that's a lot of what this Cleveland system is. There's a lot of very obvious, very notable flaws in each one of these guys. But we also need to know that this is Cleveland, and Cleveland knows how to maximize the best of each profile. So there's a good chance if you got a guy like Bazzana, if you got a guy like DeLauder, if you got a guy like Velasquez, Cleveland's going to find a way to put them in a situation where they succeed because their tools are the loudest. And that's why, for me, that I have them in the big three.
All right. So that's a glasses half empty perspective on the big three. Do you have the same? Are you a glasses half empty, or are you genuinely enthused about their big three?
So last year, my big three, Bazzana, DeLauder, CJ Kefas, I snuck in a fourth with Parker Mezek. So thank you. You're welcome. I guess you're welcome with that one. But this year, I'm repeating Bazzana and DeLauder, and it's not that they aren't totally reasonable guys to roster and all that stuff. We get it, though. Bazzana is certainly understandable, and like what he will be is great, but it's also going to be at second base, and that's where he will be. So, okay, it's a muddy pool for fantasy to be at second base. And then DeLauder, assuming we're all good here, it's great, but we've been singing this song for 3 straight years. So we just haven't had anything change within it, because he's either hurt and that's why he hasn't debuted, or he's getting at bats and that's why he hasn't made advances. He's catching up for lost time, or it's just not yet time for him. So there's almost like built-in reasons why it's not going well for him. So anyway, for this year, I'm repeating those two guys. And then actually I'm repeating Kefas too. I jokingly was going to put him on my next, because I thought he took such a big step back with the promotion that not only is he not a big three, he's actually going to take a step back to be a next three, but he's just crushed in the minors so much that I think it's a matter of him needing to force his hand. Kobe Mayo-like situation, where if they don't have a spot for him, they should find one or find another team for him to be on, which typically they don't do that. They don't move these guys out. What was it, like 4 years ago when they started to like churn and burn outfielders? And that was the only time when they all of a sudden had developed a bunch of guys and didn't have room for them, and they moved guys out. But Kefas, you could see the potential. I think he had 18 total home runs last year. You could see the potential with it, but then when he got up with the big league club, it was learning. There was a lot of learning. OBP dropped quite a bit. He was sub 300, and but I still think he's one of those guys. So there's guys, but it's not like I know DeLauder's the superstar of the group as far as everyone's concerned, but I don't know that he is. And I also don't know that you can bank on it, because you just need more of a track record to bank on it, more health, like track record of health to bank on it. And that's why it's not. I am equally as enthusiastic as Ben, and almost more disappointed that I don't have a pitcher to talk about, because it's Cleveland, and that's disappointing.
So I was going to ask you guys, and Uncle Ted brought this up in comments. He likes Jace Laviolette.
Sure.
You guys want to talk about him for just a second? Why you didn't include him in the 3?
Do we want to go to my next 3, because that's when we'll get to talk about him, because I've got him in mine. I don't know if Robbie has him in his, but yeah, that's
you have him as a next. Okay, that's interesting in of itself. So
I guess I can just kick off right into that. I have Ralphie Velazquez, Josh Hartle, and Angel Hinoa last year in my next 3. None of those bad picks. All were in consideration this year. Only one of them actually got mentioned. So, but this year, my next 3, I do include 2 pitchers. I have Joey Oki, guy who had a ton of hype coming out of the draft last year, and it looked bad on your straight numbers. But if you start getting into things, you start to see real quick. This is where I love Prospect Savant. If any of you are still not informed on what Prospect Savant is, we had the purveyor of that website on our podcast last year for an interview, and he was down at Arizona Fall League and actually came and watched us do our live podcast. Duke is a really smart guy, and the numbers behind Oki would say this guy's got some stuff, and it's just a matter of locating it where he wants to. Can touch 100, has a slider that's, when it's on, looks wicked. He did change the changeup he uses, but he really didn't. He barely used the changeup last year just because the control issues were so bad that he basically was on fastball slider, and by then he was beat up enough that he got kicked out of the ball game. So I like Oki a lot. I think that there's something there, and especially with Cleveland's development, I could see him being the type of guy that sits in the low levels. They work some stuff out with him, and then all of a sudden he's up 3 levels and knocking on the major league door. Jace Laviolette is my guy here. Raw tools to be the top pick in 2025, but he really struggled with strikeouts and fell to the 27th pick. Could be a steal for the Guardians is what I wrote. Big power, big speed sort of guy. He could take a year or 2 in A and AA to work on his pitch selection, but his defense should allow him to sit in center field. And I think this is a guy who, we've been having the conversation a few different times here so far. Huge issue, like Carson Williams types, those guys that can really power and speed sort of guys. And yes, Ted's bringing up all sorts of other things. Yes, I realize he was injured, but his injury didn't necessarily cause him to strike out more. There's pitch selection issues there in college baseball that he was having troubles with. And that's, one of the things that Cleveland has been good at is they will be patient with somebody as they work out little kinks along the way. And I could see him, like I said, being a guy who sits in a bit in the low levels and then explodes up real fast. Last but not least, Braylon Doughty was the other high school stud arm that they got with Oki in the 24 draft, and a lot better performance this last year. Kind of a fully filled out sort of guy, whereas Oki has a whole lot of ceiling. Doughty is kind of what he is right now. Probably a guy who has 5 pitches, all average to above average sort of pitches, has command to work out a little bit, but has good control. So right now it's a control over command profile, but he's a guy who's a year removed from high school. I could see him working through this year into the upper levels and then challenging in 27 for the Cleveland rotation. Really but it's kind of going to be a high floor sort of guy. But we also know Cleveland takes these high floor sort of guys and turns them into freaking Shane Bieber. So, for a 3-year span where they're just, Cy Young caliber. I don't know that that's where Doughty will end up, but he certainly could work very well in that rotation.
Okay. I like those picks. Robbie, you want to bring us home with your next three?
So badly. Last year, my next three, I had Petey Halpin. You're welcome. Ralphie Velasquez and Jason Churio. And the note for Churio was, gotta love the stolen base potential and his promise of improved average. Whoopsie daisy. So this year,
just written off, done. You're just done.
He was the next three's not on this year's list, but I do have Jace Laviolette as well. Big bat, big K's, big boy, 6'6", 230, lefty. Let's see if he can hit with the wood bat and maybe steal bases again before we make him into a big three. Those are my simple notes on him there. We could talk about how there were injuries and this and that. He stole bases his first year in college. He kind of stopped and decided he was going to drop bombs instead. And I think he needs to get back to Iran-ine bases. Anybody? Is this thing on? Next up, I have Welbin Francisca, who, although he is technically a shortstop, I think he could also be moved around a little bit. And he could do a few more things with them in the outfield specifically. Now, he's not big, which is why first base isn't going to happen here. 5'8", 150 is what it says on Baseball Reference. I wanted to check real quick because I had a note that said 165. I'm like, that seems light. So this seems worse. Just so we're clear. My confirmation actually went the other way on me for the next thing. But anyway, so there previously had been in 24. Was that this season where he had? Yeah, 24. He had like elite OBP in 291 at bats, 411 OBP as an 18-year-old. Last year, learning the game, full season ball in A-ball. Everything dropped by a bunch. Average dropped by 100 points to 229 from 326. OBP dropped from 411, as I mentioned before, to 320. But there's also learning going on at this level, and he's still able to steal bases. He stole twice as many, 45, as he did the year before at 19. And I think there's some potential here as well. And I believe his defensive grade arm actually was a little weak for him. Never mind. But yeah, power potential and hit could be like 60, 65. But the arm, I guess, which is why I was discussing moving him around, trying to keep him in the middle infield is to his advantage. If he ends up as an outfielder, 45 arm is not going to work out too well. So he's got second base written all over him. Luckily, they don't have anyone else in their minors that could be a potential second baseman. Oh, wait. So anywho, he's a long ways away. I think he's going to repeat A-ball, and then we're going to see exactly what's going on here. But he had such a good underage 24 stateside debut that I would like to see a second shot before we walk away. So I still have him as the next. And then Angel Genao. Did I nail it? Genao.
Okay. Another switch hitting middle infielder.
Yeah,
thank you. Cleveland has a whole lot of these,
it's exactly it. Yeah, we talked about Ben, you talked about it, but it's I feel the same way. Middle infield, slightly better arm, but it's a similar profile. And we talked about this. I feel like this is our third year doing it. I feel like this was something that we talked about with Cleveland before as the middle infield factory, that they were able to just kind of have these guys come up, but none of them were like studs. But at some point in time, there's enough guys that it makes sense. Tyler Freeman was once amongst this crew. And
Rocio,
when we get into Wedge players, I got more. Yeah. And he's there underachieving at the big league level. So the reason why I had Angel up here is let's see, the Dominican Winter League, which he was in this year, 325, 386 in 83 at bats. I thought that was great because he is 21. He's playing against men, veteran men. But his 25 season overall, which was his age 21, he was fine. 263 average, 332. This was between mostly AA, but he had a little bit of rookie ball in there where he hit well too. So I think he's coming along well. There just isn't power And the thing he's not doing is stealing the bases. So if there's a change to be had here, I like him. Although, as I mentioned, I'm looking for arms. There's a reason why, unfortunately, I don't have arms until we get into our wedge and draft sleeper guys. I just didn't see what we've seen in previous years where it's like low-hanging fruit to pick some tall guardian prospect pitchers. So they've traded some guys have taken steps back, and then some have become wedge players. So
yeah. And I like that you pick somebody who has no power and doesn't run. I mean,
thank you. Fantasy asset, baby.
Really, it's amazingly helpful.
It's empty average and middling OBP, but I think there's potential, guys.
Well, you never know. Like you said, 2021, and there's absolutely an opportunity to take a step forward. And Cleveland did, both Lindor and Jose Ramirez were hit first empty average prospects when they started in Cleveland. You
heard it from Sam.
When Cleveland does it, they really blow up, right? So we'll see. Players.
Yeah. Well, let me throw my wedge guys at you here.
Yep.
Because I think you're going to all be equally impressed as you were with my next.
Can't wait.
So I've got last year's dynasty darling Juan Brito as a wedge guy now. AAA, we know the deal, right? We know the deal. He's going to be up, and he's going to do all the things and be the Ben Zobrist. When? And will it really happen? Now you're a wedge guy. Thank you. You have no dynasty value to trade away, and no one will offer you what you think is fair for you to deal him. So you are stuck if you've got him, and you're not getting him if you think it's possible. So
I love that definition for a wedge guy. I love that definition.
You're stuck with him, and you're just not getting him otherwise. So Daniel Espino, almost identical situation, but on the pitching side. Difference, of course. We know Espino could be absolutely electric. He could Garrett Crochet if it all really popped for him. But we haven't seen him be healthy, and I think Cleveland's going to do something kind of fun this year and bring him up at some point in time, whether it's starting. I think more than likely it's going to be relieving, and I think they're going to be like, can you throw hard? Okay, go get outs. Here's 18 pitches as an opportunity for you tonight, something like that. Let's see where you can go. The other wedge guy that I've got, and this is more just like an update for everybody out there who was really excited, whatever it would have been 18 months ago. I think that's around there. Matt Wilkinson, tugboat, if you will. Remember, he was really dominating. He's a Canadian. We love him. He's now dead stock for fantasy managers. He got up to AA. Like, what was it here? Dominant strikeout and the low minors, 190
mile-an-hour fastball doesn't work in the upper minors.
Shocking. Weird. It hasn't worked as he's moved up. So 190 ERA in 2024, and then he got moved up, and then it all just washed away. Now he's not dead in the sense that he's never going to pitch in the big leagues, but expectation as far as like getting like legitimate value for him, or SP5 best case scenario at the moment right now. So my draft sleeper, I was able to find an arm, thank God. I mean, obviously with Cleveland, you're going to be able to find one in the draft.
Is it a Canadian arm?
I don't think he's Canadian. I don't have that listed. Ryan Prager, the 9th round pick.
Okay.
Lefty, 23. So old for Cleveland, but I like the idea here. He redshirted after a Tommy John surgery, which I think is the reason why we're talking about him as a 23-year-old, because he had the delay.
Well, two reasons.
Okay. What's the other reason?
Because the Aggies offered it. He was their ace when they went to the College World Series. The Angels drafted him, and then the Aggies are like, you don't want to go to that organization. Right. They don't spend any money. And, oh, by the way, here's a shit ton of NIL money. Come on back.
Okay.
And so he did.
All the more reason. So, I think he's a potential, a quick mover within Cleveland's system, and a lot of people might be like, oh, this guy. So I think there's potential there with Prager. And to Ben's point, more reason why he could have already done his first year pro.
Yeah. And this is a guy that I'm not going to mention, but Britton mentioned him. And so, we should, just because Daniel Espino was back on the mound in the Arizona Fall League, and he took his first turn in spring training. not saying anything as far as who he is, what he is. I just hope the guy has, I hope he gets a cup of coffee someday. He's been through so much. You hope that he finds some success and at least gets a cup of coffee. So are you done with your wedge and draft, guys?
I'm
Robbie?
done, baby.
Alrighty. So I didn't know which one you were going to pick, and now I have both of them. I had 2 catchers on my wedge guys, and so
I already dipped in with Tampa. I'm done.
Yeah. No, but they're 2 very, very different guys. Cooper Ingle he's more of your bat first guy, a lot of contact, a lot of on base, but below average power, and he's kind of a fringe defender. So I really don't know. I said the contact skills are legit, and if he kicked up the defense, you could be looking at like an Alejandro Kirk profile. But that defense, to get to Kirk's level of defense, he would have to work really hard. So that's just keep that in mind. Then you have the other end of things, Jacob Cozart, who is a holy crap defender and has good power, but that batting average ain't going to be pretty. This is your Jason Castro profile, like that'll. It's kind of interesting that they have these 2 guys about the same levels in the system, because they're such total opposites as far as catchers go. Like the one is more of a bat first guy, but he has fringe catcher skills defensively. The other one's a definite catcher, but fringe offense. My draftee, I actually had Prager on there, but my backup that I thought you were going to take was Will Hines, a high school righty out of Canada, and was drafted and was listed at 6'2" and 180. I will tell you that in the fall, he was measured and listed at 6'4" and 215. This boy has grown a bunch since he was measured for summer showcase stuff. And you can see it in his fastball. It went from about a 90 to 92 offering, and now he's touching 96 with it, sitting 92, 94. Has an incredible slider. Just needs a third pitch. It's a high school arm. Needs a third pitch. Needs to work on consistency. Perfect organization to do it, but I could absolutely see this be their next churn and burn sort of guy. They're going to get him up a couple levels, watch that stuff really pick up, and then just, like they've done with some other high school arm picks that they've had recently, turn that into a mid-season trade. And that's perfectly fine if that's, but he could be a fun guy. So
yeah, he'll end up at one of the 2 other teams' rosters that we were talking about tonight. He'll either get traded to Tampa Bay or traded to Houston.
There you go.
Not getting to the majors with Cleveland.
Honestly, the slider shape and stuff, God, him and Houston would be a really fun matchup. Like that, he kind of fits their profile as far as what they develop well. But anyway, we haven't gotten to Houston yet. So, but that's the draft guy that I had for Cleveland. So, are we ready for a commercial?
Let's do it.
Sure.
Let's do an ad. All right. Let's do the sexiest ad we have.
Sweet dreams you can't resist. N-E-S-T-L-E-S. A dream as sweet as this. N-E-S-T-L-E-S. Creamy white, dreamy white. Nestle makes the very best. N-E-S-T-L-E-S. Sweet dreams you can't resist.
If that doesn't make you horny, I don't know what will.
Not at all. There's nothing. There is nothing.
Sounds like Epstein emails read. Eddie, hello, welcome back. You were asking about Wilkinson. He is a guardian, but Ted is taking one stat and trying to make it a player profile, which will not work out. So You gotta be careful here. Tugboat was a big deal 2 years ago, and now we need to see how we can do against other people. He's a 6'1", 250, hence the name Tugboat Guy. So, okay, Houston, this is the one that nobody cares about, and let's not forget they cheated. Okay, everybody, they cheated, and they are still paying for it, and they are paying for it in how they will be discussed tonight, because the ramifications are real of cheating, winning World Series, being dominant for a decade, and then eventually getting caught. So last year, my big three, Shea Whitcomb, boom, nailed it. Still a big three, just not getting an opportunity. Pedro Leon, boom, out of the organization. We don't need to talk about him. And Zach DeZenzo, is that correct? Am I pronouncing it correctly? I don't know. What do we think? That was
Did he end up?
He was
getting
up.
enough at bats.
I don't have him on my list.
No longer be
though.
eligible. Yeah, exceeded rookie limits. So
did he get 130, or did he? Is it just that I didn't care anymore?
Between 24 and 25 now, he has 174 plate appearances.
Yeah, okay, so that's why. Yeah, graduated out of it. So, yeah, there you go. Now Whitcomb, like
just barely, but
Whitcomb, I'm still pissed. I know he's getting screwed here. I'm waiting for the next team that he goes to. It's the problem is that he's going to be 27, 28 by the time that happens if Houston holds him all year. So I would love to see him get a legit shot. Just let him go like swing up balls in Colorado in September, something like that.
Just gonna say we're a little getting in that PG-13 range here.
For this year, I've got to change in organizational my organizational ways here. So Tatsuya Imai nailed it. 27-year-old KBO signing. Thank you, Sam. He's on just because he seems to be the guy, and in FYPDs, he has been like by 3 or 4 spots, the first of the Asian free agent signings. So he's been a top 3 FYPD, and then what's his nuts and what's his face from the White Sox and Toronto have been like post 6. Yeah, those guys. And Imai has been in like a top 3 guy in most drafts that I have got data on. And if you have done an FYPD and would like to send me your stuff so that I can add it to my growing list, I am always happy to take those names. So you can find me somewhere, maybe in the Discord. Join our Discord. It is mostly a bully-free zone for most people. So
in a back alley somewhere to give you fantasy and to get fantasy information.
Oh my God. My favorite bar in my 20s in Calgary was called the Back Alley. And no, it was not a gay bar. Okay. It was just like a hard rock bar. It was amazing.
So quick to point that out. I mean, come on.
I'm just saying, not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, I was going to say
there's anything wrong with that.
I'm not going to shame you here. I'm not going to shame you here. And hey, just so you know, it's Tatsuya Imai.
That's what I said. Anyway, so the other guys, it's Brice Matthews, French, 23-year-olds. He's got the potential to be a home run guy. He's got the potential to be a stolen base guy. There's a lot of stuff here that could work. I don't know what Houston's going to do with it, but he's kind of their non-international consensus.
Bryce Matthews, right?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we've got Miguel. Oh God, I gotta just stop putting his name on. Anybody else?
No.
Yeah, that's the one. ULLOLA. For anyone out there, ULLOLA. I do apologize for not being able to pronounce his name, but he was a 21 J15 guy. I have been on him since that time. Electric fastball plus slider, solid curve change, elite strikeout upside. He's collecting the innings in the minors. It might be time for him to really hone in that control and then get the push up to the majors. And maybe that comes when he gets with like a long camp right now with the major league pitching staff, and they can really work with him. I'm hoping that was a focus this offseason for him, because this could be their next of the international guys, in my opinion, if he can tighten that control up, or when he's missing, if those just become ground balls. And, sometimes that happens, but I like those guys. So I've got Amai Matthews and
Yeah, Uyola. He's pretty interesting. I thought that he was gonna probably break in as a reliever to start, and then get moved out into being a starter.
Sure, I'd be
But-
okay with that. Just an opportunity would be good.
Yeah. No, but he's got starter upside, so I'd really like to see that happen for him.
I believe if this is correct, I wrote down 576 Ks in 431 minor league innings pitched. If that's career correct, God, I had a lot of time on my hands last week. If that's what I wrote, I had it all that anyway. If that's correct, that's a lot of striking guys out. So controlling is going to be the big thing for him. Ben,
what do you got for Houston's big three?
beat that,
All
bitch.
Wow.
Motherfucker! Boom!
I feel like I'm on like Monday Night Raw instead. All right, Houston.
You can't see me.
Jesus Christ. Can you smell? Anyway, no, I'll just stop. All right, so my big three for last year was Cam Smith, which, pretty solid. Jacob Melton, and then Luis Baez, and that just stopped happening. So unfortunately, this year I have Xavier Nyans, who I'm a very big fan of.
Yeah.
Physically fun. 6'4", 225. I mean, a guy coming out of high school who is athletic, can still handle short, and is that size, is a fun guy to dream on. I'm almost certain he's moving to third because of the fact that he's already that size and 18 years old. But really good plate coverage, lots of raw power. But right now his pitch recognition is needing some help because he can kind of get a bat on everything. That's almost a problem for him because he can make contact on so much. He swings at everything. It'd be nice to see him kind of calm that crap down. But yeah, I think he's going to be a guy that they're going to move slow. And then as soon as he can figure out that stuff, they're going to just push his butt hard to the majors because it's power that they'd only have when in the like 17 games that Jordan is healthy every year.
Hey.
Wow.
He plays a lot more than that.
I know.
Everybody comes after him for his playing time, and that
I know. I have fun with it. I know. I like Jordan.
No Jordan slander man on my watch, man. I'm just going to call it for it. I'm letting you know right now.
I feel like that's a foot going down, Sam. Are you putting your foot down on that?
Yeah, he's not
former Dodger great, Jordan Alvarez. All right. Ethan Fry is my next one. Plays way above his raw tools. He's a former catcher. I wanted to make sure we could mention catching. He moved to the outfield. I doubt you'll ever see him hit 30 home runs or steal 30 bases, but he's the type of guy that's going to fill up every category a little. But just every team wants a guy like him in their clubhouse. It's just because he is that try-hard guy, he's going to get a lot of chances. I'm a big fan of him. And then I have Matthews on here mainly because he's there. He's at the
he's
pro
default
level.
fantasy guy.
But and definitely has power and speed. I think he should be at second base or in the outfield more than shortstop, really, or third, because the arm is not really that great. But I don't know that you'll ever see him hit better than about 230. But when he is playing, there's going to be lots of power. There's going to be lots of speed. So if he's getting run, he could fill out some stats for you. So that's my big three. That sounds all sorts of exciting, doesn't it?
I'm titillated by him.
And in fact, I was just going to say 2 of those 3 had to be inserted because they traded away Melton and Brito, who we talked about earlier tonight. So that's
yeah. God, Houston's active, baby. Those names just move.
Yeah.
So who are your next 3?
last year I had Cam Smith, Anderson Brito, Banum, and Miguel Lula. And the note on Cam Smith last year, and you guys are going to like this as people who care about, draft or show prep and ensuring you're ready. He's not top 3 because they don't need to rush his development time. This isn't the Angels. Smith has everything for fantasy except stolen bases, which you don't count for in corner infielders. Boom. And then he opened with the big league club. So this year I went with a little bit more realistic of next guys instead of a guy who I just really didn't want them to rush up, but of course they did. So I've got Xavier Nyans. All the things Ben said. I absolutely love the potential here. I do think he's moving to the corner. So there you are with that. Calvin Alvarez, a 17-year-old DSL outfielder. He was last year's J2 class. Sorry, I said DSL, but he was an international guy, played in the DSL last year. Left-handed hitter, above average hit tool, really good baseball IQ, which just means that he's not going to do the dumb stuff. He's 6'4". We can see plus power. He had more walks and strikeouts last year with 11 stolen bases. I just like it all. Projects as to stick in the outfield, could be good enough to stay in center field. And then I understand, Ben, that you have a different feeling on it, but I am going to go back to Luis Baez. I don't think it's over. Right-handed hitter, 30 home run potential, good bat speed. He's going to be 23 this year, which is still young. The power is real. Swing and misses the issues, struggling with sliders. Knowing what you need to work on can be a really important thing. Let's hope that that's what the focus was for him and we can see him come back. He's, for some reason, now slower and more than likely to move to a corner outfield. Again, further hurting the fantasy value, but now we're looking more at the bat and the ability to just remain in the outfield. Conditioning has apparently been an issue with him, and I don't love that for him, but maybe there's a reason beyond that we don't know. That's why there was a report that I was able to find that said conditioning was an issue throughout his 25 season. So anyway, Nyans, Baez, and Alvarez. And I didn't check the percentage for any of the guys because at this point in the year, with all the redrafts now going on, anyone who was who's drafted in a lot of deep dynasty leagues, they're not going to show up as having a rostered percentage on most of your big league, like your CBS, your Fantrax, your Yahoo, because there's so many redraft leagues going on right now that the percentage of prospects getting claimed in rosters goes down quite a bit. A lot of guys that we've talked about tonight would have 5% or under, which isn't what the dynasty community is doing or what most deep leagues are doing. But redraft, all the leagues are joining now, and they're kind of wrecking those stat lines. So once we get back into season, although those leagues still exist, there'll be a more realistic look at like where guys are actually owned amongst like all fantasy leagues. So all of these guys would be quite low single digits for sure, despite the fact that like Nyans is an excellent looking prospect who should be a good project for the Astros. All right, let's wedge it. Let's wedge it and sleeper it.
Wait, well, don't I get to next?
Oh, you want to do them too?
I have not nexted.
Oh, I apologize. I'm just so eager to be done with Houston.
Understandable. 2025, I had Zach DeZenzo, I had Anderson Brito, I had AJ Blue Ball. There we go. And I'm repeating. I apparently AJ's a married guy because he's back on the list in Blue Balls again.
Oh my goodness.
High floor guy who's been in the upper minors for multiple years, but never really been handed a starting role. And I do not think this is a future reliever if he doesn't work out as a starter, because nothing is a 60. It's all 50-55 stuff that he controls well. I mean, control can be a 60, but this is a back-end starter who he has a lot of pitches that should work, but Houston has just never given him a chance to really try as a starter, which is a shame. Then I have Walker Yadick, was considered the top catcher of the 2024 draft, still has elite defensive skills, but really, he's more passable than outstanding with the bat is what I put on here. So it's because he's such a good defender, he passes as a, at catcher. And then last I have Ryan Focaccia.
Focaccia, it's pronounced.
Yeah.
He's Italian.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes.
The
Big taste.
expert, Robbie Baseball.
Yes. There is the Amazon book that everyone would buy. Robbie Baseball's Guide to Baseball Pronunciations. That is the Audible book that everyone would be purchasing right there.
100%.
You're like, okay, now we're going to go through Dominican stats. Oh my God. Okay.
And folks, now if you ever wonder why midseason we talk about A ball and above, there's the reason. All right. So
stay out of the complex,
so
stay out of the DSL.
Ryan was a big time prospect, but had Tommy John just before the draft, and he has not had a chance to pitch in game action yet. Still a guy that I really liked coming into last year's draft, but because of the Tommy John, moved way down. When he was healthy, it was a big time fastball, a big time slider, and he needed to work on a third pitch. Well, he came back, and in instructs this year, he's throwing mid-90s. The slider is breaking the way it did before. It's down a tick or two, and he's still needing a third pitch. So I wager he's probably going to be handled. I put on here with kid gloves this year, but watch him to potentially be a big riser in 27 after he gets healthy. So now are we ready for some wedges? We can go into wedge and draft fun after that now, because then we can get out of this Astros talk. So my main wedge guy is, I had two of them on here to talk about. Joseph Sullivan put up big numbers to start the year and then ended the year hitting about 150 over the last 2 months, but still finished with 17 home runs and 49 stolen bases. And I put on here, that is sexy. It's right in my report.
Stolen bases are second.
He has an odd swing. I don't think the swing and miss is going away. It's an odd looking swing. I have watched lots and lots and lots of baseball. I have written up scouting reports that were looked at by Major League ball clubs. I don't know what the hell I would write about this swing. I don't know that there's anything you do with it, but this is a guy who likely is going to be a low average, high on base, and could be one of those guys that has really pretty numbers when he does get on base. Lots of steals. He can hit for power when he does make contact. The other guy I mentioned is if he was left-handed, he'd be a Robbie guy, and that's Alonzo Treadwell.
Oh,
6'8", 230 pounds, which, by the way, 230 is about 40 pounds less than what he was about this time last year. So he's really done some work to slim himself up, got himself healthy. He had a bunch of injuries in 24 after he had a back injury at UCLA, and then the back injury really kind of made it tough for him to get on the field, made it tough for him to work out, and he gained a bunch of weight. But he has gotten back, trimmed down. It's average stuff across the board, but because of the angle, because of the some of the downward trend or movement on the fastball, he gets a ton of ground balls. And when I watched him, honest to goodness, the first thing I thought watching the way his two-seamer moved was, shit, that's a Framber sinker. And of course, he's in the right organization for that. And, if that's what he's using and he's kind of playing everything off of that sinker coming from 6'8", that could work. I'm not going to project that this is a guy that suddenly, because of his ground ball rate, is going to be a, frontline starter the way that Framber has been, but that's the top end potential there. And then I wanted to get deep for my draftee on this organization. I went with Landon Arroyos, who they drafted in the 18th round out of high school in Georgia. And got a hold of
sign, right? It was the 19th round that did not.
he did sign.
Yeah. Okay.
And it wasn't much above like the 150 slot, basically.
Yeah. 250, 2.5 he got.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't crazy. But I got a hold of a guy that scouts in Georgia, and I said, so tell me, what do I need to know about why is he not going to college? And he said, well, quite frankly, there probably wasn't a lot of NIL money for him because he's a second baseman more than a shortstop, and probably would have been at second base immediately in college. But he says he's a smaller guy, but he says, Ben, I'll tell you, he's a guy who can hit a baseball a long ways and can get a lot of charge behind a ball for as small as he is. And so that just caught my attention. Going to probably debut in the Arizona complex this year, might get a late promotion to low A, but just someone, when you get a fun report like that, you're like, oh, well, I'll pay attention to that guy now. So.
I hear you on that front.
And of course, in the Astro system, a guy that you get a positive report on in any matter, you're like, cool, I'll pay attention to him.
Well, just honestly, looking at their draft class. So I made a mistake with my sleeper for them. And I just put in our private chat that absolutely no one but us can look at that. Can you just confirm it was Bryce Mayer you were just talking about? Because I missed when you first said the name. So I went back and looked, and I'm like, oh man, he was a 16th rounder in 24, not in 25. But somehow I had made him my draft sleeper. So if you have been in a coma and are just coming out right now, you could go get Bryce Mayer, who's a 24 draft pick, because that was it. So I quickly went to look at their draft class for this year, and they are boring. Like they did take one guy, I would say, significantly over, and that was their 7th round pick, Jace Mitchell, but he's a catcher, so I don't want to talk about him. Other than that, pretty
and a high school catcher.
Yeah, sorry, a high school catcher. Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that,
the other thing is
pretty regular, nothing crazy, nobody really high, nobody really under, nobody signed for $500. So they weren't like they didn't do anything crazy. I guess the lowest signed guy was in their 10th round pick. Again, a 10th round pick, $7,500. A 22-year-old shortstop out of California State, Paulie San Luco, don't care. So anyway, but for my own wedge guys, I do have Alonzo Treadwell. Quite like him. Lots of injuries, Tommy John, shoulder back issues. If he's healthy, he can be good. Ben alluded to the potential of him here. I also had Zach Cole as a wedge guy with him left-handed hitter, raw power plus speed. Like there's stuff, right? Shea Whitcomb is also under this list, but not listed just because I'm upset. I'm upset about Shea Whitcomb and how it hasn't been able to come together for him. So Houston sucks and the organization isn't fun because they just they're not churning them up. And that's where we're sitting with them right now. Like I don't know if this draft class is going to look really good in 2 years. Maybe they got more Myers lying around that we're going to start to see pop. But for a while now, it's been looking at what they had that was at the young level while they were going through the penalties and lost picks and all that kind of stuff. But this is kind of where I think they're missing it, is because years ago they were penalized, and this is where these guys, these prospects would now be bubbling up to the top, and we're not seeing them. Certainly not consistently, and they aren't aggressively trading for prospects unless, like Cam Smith, they bring him up.
Yeah, no, it's been 5 or 10 years since their prospects have been just what we had come to expect from them, right? It's been a few years,
but see, and they always, though, even when they didn't have great upper minor guys, they always had that guy in the lower minors that you're like, they're doing something with him pitching wise, especially pitching wise. But they always had that guy that you're like, oh, Jose Crady was like a guy that was popping before he ever got to the majors. You're like, holy crap, that guy's going to be something. And that is a like $10,000 signee.
Well, even date it back to McCullers at the start of that wave, Ben, and then it went into the international, right? You had, like you said, Eric Quady, Framber, Christian Javier. They've brought him up. There's more I'm missing, guys, but they've brought him up. And then it's like, well, who's next, right? And then it was like, let's start looking at the pitchers. Like let's see who are these guys who are going to start to pop. Well, a lot of guys topped out at AA.
Well, and they were drafting guys like Hunter Brown. Like Hunter Brown was a 2019 draft pick, 2020. I mean, he wasn't somebody that they traded for. He wasn't somebody that they signed internationally.
Mhm.
Like, they had the whole system going. And the point that I was going to make is that you get excited about the Houston prospects that are coming up. A name that I didn't hear a lot tonight from you guys was Zach Cole, who everybody seems to be talking about. But here's a prospect whose K rate is what, 80%? I mean, 30%.
Well, 30 upside. I have him as a
It
wedge
was
guy because I don't
40
know.
and
Yeah.
his pro debut, everyone went, "Oh my gosh," because he slugged 550. Except that he did that as he was striking out 40% of the time. Like, I don't think in the minors he has shown game power like that, which makes me wonder how real that was. Or if it was just a dead cat bounce sort of thing. You get to the majors, nobody knows who you are. You get a few fastballs and you light them up, and you come around the next time, you're not going to get that same fastball. But this system to me, after all the penalties, like Robbie was saying, reminds me of trying to find young guys, and I'm going to use my mention in the Braves system after the international stuff happened, because they didn't have that backfill of international guys, and all of a sudden that system had to really rely on college guys in their draft. And it's interesting that last year was their first year, the Braves, that they could go into drafting or go into signing, and they ended up drafting a bunch more high schoolers than they had been. And that's
all right, Ben. We thank you for coming on the show tonight. Yeah. That is strike 3 with Brave mentions.
That's going to be where Houston, I think, has to go for a while, is probably sticking with college guys while they backfill the system a little bit, just so that they have that depth of player.
They're going to have to tear down what they have. There's going to have to be a season where they're going to have to trade off a series of players before they run out. Like, I don't think Altuve finishes his career as
which is sad. I like seeing a guy play out his entire
as a Dodger.
I like seeing a guy finish his entire career with one team.
He would,
and especially once he's gotten to this level. I mean,
yep. Yeah, but we don't see that anymore. Clayton Kershaw and who else recently played a long time with their team? You can't. I'm sure there's hundreds out there. I'll leave that to the historians. I can't think about that right now.
Sure. Like, there are guys who stick around, but there are also guys who all of a sudden are with a new team every single year. And there's also the guys like Scherzer who are with, multiple teams throughout. Verlander has become one now, circling back to Detroit to kind of, put a bow on it. Also, they needed an arm. So, and
they're
what
both
Houston doesn't what Houston doesn't do that they need to, which is they need to take a page out of Milwaukee's book. They like to steal things, steal how Milwaukee drafts, and get yourself keep your money for the later rounds and sign a bunch of high school guys. So you're not necessarily backfilling with organizational depth that will have very low ceilings, but some guys can come through. You're going to start to pump through, 5 or 6 guys each of the next 3 or 4 years that could all contribute down the road. So then you can get back to the, aggressive drafting that you would like to do for guys that could be, 2 to 3 years of development away. When you have those 5-year guys and you can mix it all in, and all of a sudden, boom, you got a good system, and if you're real lucky, you become Milwaukee, who has it at all levels and is continued through their drafting to have very drool-worthy prospects each and every year, because now, dum-dums like me are looking to see who they draft in the second half of the draft, and like, well, that's going to be my free dynasty pickup, so I can trade, round 3, round 4 picks in my 10-round 30-team dynasty draft where it's 300 total picks. I can wait until like round 8, 9, and 10 to pick up all these guys, because that's when nobody values those picks. But Milwaukee really puts a lot into those guys. And even like a lot of websites, like host sites, might not even have those guys on until you yourself have said, hey, Landon Roop needs to be added, Brewers, blah, blah, blah. Here's the article. And you do that with Fantrax, they'll add the guy. So Houston needs to get that system going, unless they believe that the way they're going about it through their international system is that version. We just haven't seen it bubble up yet, especially with position players.
Right. And I think that's a good shout out for Milwaukee and their system. They won more games than anybody else last year. And you get this common narrative like, well, why did they do that this offseason? It's like, well, they had a reason. They're not dumb. The organization is, I think they take good advantage of being a middle market team. And so
they know who they are.
I agree with that call out. That's at the heart of what I'm thinking about for Houston is they really need to do something about getting some of the stagnant talent there out. They need to start moving some things. So
instead of keeping potential people like Whitcomb out, you can bring them up and like play them or not. But I mean, like I was talking about it, I don't know, 5 years ago with oh my goodness, who's the guy who Jose Siri moved to Tampa, and all of a sudden he had that like brief period of time, and I was like, that's who he could have been with Houston, but they didn't want to give him steady opportunity. They were platooning, and I forget who it was that was taking time away from him. And I'm like, they're equal defenders, but they're letting go of a speed power potential guy. And I just, when you see it again with Whitcomb now, I'm just annoyed at it because the potential to me is there. And again, he could just end up being like a KBO guy too. But without opportunity, I feel like it's a failure of the organization when not that you're not going to get rid of Altuve to give Whitcomb the time, but you're not going to find somewhere for those players to play that then you were like, okay, we can move on because we've tried them out. Right. Some teams don't develop well. Some teams need to like, the Yankees of the 90s, right? They just signed the free agents, traded away the draft picks and rinsed and repeated, and that worked for 3 championships. That's not working anymore. Dodgers are doing what they can do for that 3-peat and deferring all the money in the world. But the standard system is, you got to have players developing at all levels. And it seems like Houston's not been consistent with any one way of developing players since those international arms all came up. So anyway, that's enough of that bull crap. Yep. Next week, St. Louis, Detroit, Miami. That'll be fun. More fun.
Oh my God. That'll be just
Miami
wonderful.
Is one of my favorite systems in the league right now. So that's going to be a fun one to talk about. I think they've done a lot of really fun things. So anyway,
that doesn't stay.
Cardinals are better, way better than I think a lot of people realize. Like that system has gotten really deep. They just have to actually produce it in the major league level now. So,
yes,
they've cleared the decks.
Yeah, AJ can hit.
The best fans in baseball get to watch some of the worst baseball in the league. All right. Good luck.
Best fans in baseball have been in the Northwest for the last 40 years. That's right.
Vancouver Canadians fans. All right.
All right. Well, I think we've learned enough. My brain is full. Did you guys have anything you needed to get off your chest before we leave?
No.
End it.
I think that's enough.
All right. Well, for Big Ben Chase and for Robbie Baseball, I'm Sam Wirsching. We're leaving the Pallazzo Prospect Power Hour. Peace and love.
Carlos Delgado.
Excellent choice. Too bad I got him 3 rounds ago.
You're still on the clock.
Oh, shit!
You gotta do something. We need a name.
Hideki Matsui.
You just took my whole outfield. Sorry, Charlie.
What is this?
Debbie.
What the fuck is this?
That's our fantasy baseball draft. We said no wives.
Your fantasy what?
It's our draft. For fantasy baseball. I told you all about this. Got Matsui.